surprisingly, teams coming off an extra week to prepare in the postseason are only covering a little more than 32% of the time, which is something I would not have expected. I would have expected that to be the complete opposite. Regardless, I think in this case, the Ravens are a team. The one thing that is held back, which I think is too strong of a term, but if you're talking about the weaknesses when it comes to Baltimore this season, it's really been injury. They've been so banged up. They lost running back after running back. I think Marlon Humphreys is going to be out this weekend. But if they get Mark Andrews back, and I think he's going to play, you know what I have to say, and this is hard to handicap, I love the disposition of the Ravens. I just absolutely love I know it sounds crazy.
Sounds like you're talking about a horse.
I know. Yeah. Old Betsy, always in a good mood.
Sweet
She'll take your
disposition.
She's great around children too. You can just, she'll let you pet her mane for hours. There's something about this dog mentality that they refuse. And I know all teams do this, but the Ravens have really leaned into the fact that they're underdogs, that no one expects them to win, which is not true, obviously, because they're damn near a double-digit favorite this week. But it was before the game against the Niners, and they were angry. They're like, these guys are favored over us. That's fine. We're the underdogs. And then the next week when they were favored, they're like, no, we're the underdogs. We're the underdogs. They've just leaned into this idea that they have something to prove. And you know what? They do have something to prove, and Lamar has something to prove. And I think that's the key here. You heard Double D. I heard this last night when I was talking to some friends about NFL football, and what was the first thing I heard? Oh, Lamar's going to fold. He does this each and every year in the playoffs. I feel like the Ravens know that narrative exists. I know Lamar knows it exists. I feel like they're tired of hearing about it, and they're tired of hearing about the other teams in the NFL that are better than they are, because the Ravens are not a sexy team. They're just blue collar. They're just like Baltimore. And I think that mentality goes a long way. You have to have the right mindset in NFL playoffs, and I feel like the Ravens are exactly where they need to be.
I think it's tough to look at the numbers for Lamar Jackson and say, okay, this is a quarterback I want to trust in the postseason, because he hasn't had any good games. He's had one game with a completion percentage over 58%. So the passing has not been super swell for Lamar Jackson. I think if you ever lay double digits with somebody, it's probably going to be the Niners. Like, looking at the spread, 9.5 points is certainly a lot in the postseason. But if there's one team that deserves it, it's San Francisco in this spot. Not only do they have the rest advantage, what's Green Bay playing on? 5 days to prepare for the best team in the NFL? It just seems like that's why the number is where it is. And especially for the Niners, where health has been a concern. The only time that they have not looked like an absolute wagon and super dominant is when they've had the injuries, especially with Trent Williams on the offensive line, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, you name it. When they don't have their star players, obviously, they're not going to be quite as dominant. So in this spot, I really like them. Also, I think the success of the Packers depends largely on if they can establish the run game. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's not just Jordan Love who's been really good during this stretch where the Packers have been winning games. It's also been Aaron Jones in the run game. And when you have a run game that is efficient, it takes a ton of pressure off a young quarterback. So you go against the 49ers, which is a totally different run defense than the Cowboys that we saw last week. If you look at the 49ers, they're giving up the second fewest rushing yards to opposing running backs of any team in the NFL. So I think it's going to be a little tougher on not only the run game, but Jordan Love when he is asked to carry the load of this offense. So if I had to pick a side, it would be Niners minus 9.5. Don't love the number. It's probably not going to be an official play for me, but still, if you can ever make a justification for a big favorite, I think this is the case.
Yeah, you're right. I keep going back and forth on this game, but I was thinking about it last night, and I think I'm going to go with the Packers here, which I can't believe I'm saying, because if you had asked me a week ago, even after beating Dallas, I would have said Niners. But the more I think about it, the more I just think this is a spot where Jordan Love can absolutely keep this game a little too close for comfort for San Francisco. Can Baker Mayfield sustain this level of play. At first it was, it's an anomaly, right? It's, this guy's a journeyman now. And then it was, wow, this is a nice stretch. Is it to the point now where this is who he is this season?
The simple answer is yes, it can sustain. And just ask the Philadelphia Eagles or ask the Green Bay Packers with what he did at Lambeau, or the Atlanta Falcons in the final seconds of that regular season game in mid-December. The guy has delivered over and over and over again. And if we see the Baker Mayfield that we saw Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles, the Bucs have a tremendous chance to win this game. I think they got a tremendous chance to win the game anyway, just because of the composure that they have played with, the fact that the defense is more aggressive and has been better, and you got playmakers. You got playmakers on both sides of the ball. So this is going to be fascinating with a Detroit team that hasn't breathed, sniffed, anything like this going back to the first, while we talk presidents, George Bush administration, Bush 41. That's the last time the Lions were in the divisional round of the playoffs. It has been a while. The Buccaneers have been in this round in 2020 and 2021 with a lot of guys on this current team that were involved in it. So that's advantage Buccaneers, you would have to think.
I am trying to decide which player that I want to play for the Chiefs. I'm looking at either Rashee Rice, who has had back-to-back games over the century mark, or do I go with Isaiah Pacheco? Like, obviously they both could hit, but I'm thinking that this game is maybe a little bit more back and forth than what we saw against the Dolphins. So maybe the run game isn't as heavily involved, but you just said it. The Chiefs are more of a running offense than they used to be. Can you point me in the right direction here?
Yeah, so here's a prop with Pacheco, and I don't know if this is what you were looking at, necessarily the yardage for me for Pacheco. I actually like the rushing attempt over it. Let me explain why. So you can find it at over 14.5. I think it's minus 120 or so right now. So can you get 15 or more carries? He's done that 14 times. Got over 10 times, I should say. And he just came off a 24 carry performance against the Dolphins. Now, I don't know if Andy Reid is willing to go back-to-back games where he gets over 20 carries, although I think he should. That, to me, is part of the winning formula this weekend. But Isaiah Pacheco rushing attempt over is one that I really like. No Jerick McKinnon in the mix. He's still on IR. So really, in terms of anybody stealing carries, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and we're talking 2 or 3 carries, I think, at most. So I really like Pacheco over. And when you're mentioning Rashee Rice, I mean, how can you not like the 68.5 over, though? I mean, so yes, to answer, I'm answering your question, but really both, based off of what he has done now for this offense, 2 straight 100-plus yard performances. Mm-hmm. And as I said, they have recognized who they are on offense. Stop trying to make other guys be who they're not. Lean on your best playmakers. And Rashee Rice is their best playmaker outside of Travis Kelce in the passing game. And so I think he can get over 70 yards again. I believe they'll give him 10-plus targets in this game.